Hi everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Ben Taylor podcast, the home of marine industry insights. Today we're with a boat builder, we're with the new CEO of Oyster Yachts, Stefan. Great to see you, Stefan.
Thank you. Great seeing you.
And welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
So I always get a little bit excited when there's new leadership in major organizations, especially for boat builders.
Yes.
What's kind of your direction? What's your background? What's the context of all this ongoing?
Well, for me, getting on board at Oyster is one of the best things that could have happened, because I am a passionate sailor from the very beginning. My father had a sailing boat, and then when I was 4 or 5, I went onto the water, and from ever that moment on, I was on the water. So I did a lot of sailing. And during my work time, I also worked at automotive, where I learned all the tools on manufacturing, on process steps and quality steps. And combining these two worlds, and I'm since a few years already in the marine sector, combining these two worlds and being now at Oyster, actually the top of the league, that is for me fantastic and fascinating.
And you've mentioned manufacturing there.
Yes.
Manufacturing is pretty difficult. In my personal opinion.
Yeah, well,
to manufacture boats, it's even harder. It's a step up because it's so niche.
Yes, it is.
You're building in the UK. Mm-hmm. There's quite a lot of struggles and difficulties that boat builders there are facing. What kind of things are you guys doing to make sure you're building great boats, the company's successful, and it kind of supports the industry, and you can carry on producing these amazing vessels?
Well, someone who's actually buying an Oyster is not buying an Oyster because it's cheap quality. They are buying an Oyster because, again, it's a blue water yacht and it needs to have the highest quality. Not only from a hull and deck point of view, but from a furniture point of view. So it is more important to have quality than very low cost from a labor-related point. And I can compare that, as I'm German, I can also compare that because the labor rates are more equal. So there's always a good business case if you sell a product for a certain price that outruns every other yacht from a quality perspective. So this is what we also need to do at UK. We come from a very good base on a high quality, and as long as we keep that and extend it, then also people are buying the boat because it is UK manufactured. And I think that's what we need to rely on. Having said that, it doesn't mean that we should not also look at manufacturing possibilities in order to improve it without letting go of the quality, right? So when we revert back to the automotive of their high standard of efficiency and then running throughput times faster, I think that is what we also need to do at Oyster, to make sure that, because sometimes customers need to wait for 2 years for the boat because of that many orders that we have. Imagine we can do that in 30% less, so they would have faster the boats, they can go on exploring the world, and with that we can even sell more. So this is really what I would like to drive.
And what's that market like? So there's kind of the smaller sailboats, and then there's this kind of still luxury and ocean going sector of the market before you get into the really large yacht sector. How's that market performing? Is that quite strong? Is it a little difficult? What's the demand like?
Well, I think in general at the moment we see a worldwide weakening market everywhere. Having said that, people who are buying Oyster are normally very wealthy, and they are also normally in a situation in their life where they have earned a lot of money, and they really want to go on world tour, like the World Rally that we are doing.
It's time to enjoy it.
It's time to enjoy it. So they have the money, they have the time, they order a boat. And that is where we are so good at the moment. Even if there's a weak market, we are doing very well at Oyster, because it's not only about, and certainly we'll come to that later, but it's not only about buying a sailing boat, but being part of the Oyster family and really doing these kind of rallies and regattas together. It's not like a regatta where it's up to speed and really being the best one, the first one. It's about doing it together. And that is where this niche of Oyster is, even in the luxury brand.
This is quite interesting. So I talk a lot about different types of ownership, come across a lot of different boat builders who say kind of welcome to the brand family.
Yes.
And it's you're part of this community now. And it's okay saying that, but what actually happens to create that engagement, to create those social occasions.
Yeah.
I believe you have a few different programs to make
Yeah.
sure all that
Yes.
kind of happens.
Yeah.
So that it's a constant engagement with Oyster.
Yeah.
It's a culture
Yes.
rather than
It
here's
is.
your boat, enjoy.
No, you're right. It's
and get out
absolutely
of there.
different.
It's engaging. Yeah.
I think there are few different things that we need to touch on. The first one is, as Oyster is not as big as many others, we have the concept of really doing B2C. So we are doing business to customers. We know each and every customer from the very beginning, while others do have dealers for good reasons. But we feel that it's important to be connected to the customer from the very
You
beginning.
will always go direct, no
So,
dealership, nothing
no,
like
there's
that.
nothing.
Just
No.
engage with the manufacturers straight away.
So
okay.
from the very moment that they either come via leads via the internet or with these kind of world rallies that they heard, they're coming to us, and then from the very moment I'm also involved. So with all the commissioning then happening, is they are then also coming to the UK, they see the boat, we invite them, and then we're also doing a training, because what you do see, that's another element, is that people are not so experienced anymore, at least for most of the customers coming and sailing, but they still want to do the adventure. So
Yeah, of course.
if you would buy a boat and say, I don't have any sailing experience, but I want to travel the world for 16 months, well, how would you do that? Because you have no experience.
Yeah,
right?
it takes time
It's
to
a
learn how to
it is,
sail one of these
definitely.
things
So-
safely in those kind of environments. Like,
Definitely.
you can't just go and do it. Yeah.
So I think that's the niche of Oyster. We are not only providing the boat, but we are providing the whole range. So you can get a crew from us. We have just launched the Blue Water Academy
yeah.
to make sure that with this Blue Water Academy, people will be trained. You can't learn sailing in a day, but at least you understand how it works, and then with the crew together, you can sail. And then we also offer on that World Rally a protection that there are 23 boats actually on the next one to come that are all together leaving, and with all the systems that we have in place from Navico and many others, we can communicate. So whenever there is a concern, captains from other boats can jump on and off. So that is a way of making the commissioning. But then even that, we have service points everywhere in the world. So when we do these rallies, and there is a problem, and a sail broke because of storm, we can easily fix that.
Right, okay,
So-
things happen, but you can share resources.
Yes.
It gives everyone confidence. There's social
Definitely.
elements. Like it really works.
It is. So I think
Yeah.
it's not only selling or buying a boat from a customer point of view, but it's the whole life experience of having them, and they have us, right?
Yeah, and the whole world buys these. There's many different cultures, different geographies that will engage, come and see the manufacturing plant in the UK and go through this whole experience.
Yes.
How do you see those different geographies? Do you have a particular focus at the minute? Are there any markets that you're backing off on? Kind of that strategic direction? Any preference? Any big changes there?
What we do see certainly is that we have a big community with UK customers, but also with US customers.
Yeah.
Having said that, there's a range of international Wales people who do not care about their location, because even if they are German or UK, they sometimes live somewhere else, like in Monaco or here,
Yeah.
lovely Cannes,
Yeah.
right? So they don't care really about the location. They care about how can I get from A to B.
Yeah.
And with that, the crew can ship the boat anywhere they are in order then to pick them up and to float there. So it's not really where I can say this geography doesn't work. It always works, as we are with this 16 months world really actually going everywhere as well.
So it's quite UK-centric. We're here, we're proud to be British.
Yes.
It aligns with the manufacturing quality,
Yes.
the values.
Yes.
If you're a person of the world and that really aligns with what you want to do, join in. That's the kind of message, pretty
Yes.
agnostic across
Well, absolutely.
all cultures and geographies.
Absolutely,
Yeah,
and
simple, yeah.
especially if it comes to internet, and everyone, to be honest, everyone who wants to buy a sailing boat normally starts also looking up in the internet, because have you heard about Oyster, the World Rally? So the thing he's doing, he's putting up his iPad or his iPhone, and then he's Googling them.
Yeah.
So the minute he's doing that, we are getting the first lead,
Yeah.
right? So whenever he's interested, doesn't matter where he is in the world, then he can then also contact us, or we will contact them in order to see, okay, there's someone interested in.
Yeah.
And English is certainly also a unique language, so it's not a big problem,
Yeah,
right? So
yeah.
this is how we not catch people, but where they're getting interested in the Oyster brand.
Yeah, it's almost really leaning into the referrals. I mean, I see a ridiculous amount of events.
Yes.
Quite a lot of them are big boat shows
Yes.
and all that kind of thing.
Yes.
there's a huge thing towards these micro events.
It is.
And those kind of things. But the power in them is just being so engaged with not only your customer, but the people they surround themselves with, which are pretty well qualified prospective customers for the future.
Yeah.
And so by doing the world rallies and getting their friends on board and really kind of surrounding them in Oyster, it kind of feeds the future business. And it just works well.
Yeah, it does. It really does. And there are also customers over generations where the father had like an oyster and they started sailing with it, and then the next generation came on and they're also looking then at innovations such as our 495 on the left side, but many other innovations where they feel, well, it's not even only the brand oyster, it's developing, it's evolving, it's getting better and better.
And they'll see them in the family photos, right?
Yeah,
they'll
do
like,
see
that was that boat we had all those years ago, and now it's this.
And you can't imagine, because we, especially the last World Rally where we interviewed customers, they also said the same. They said, well, one thing is to buy the boat, but the other thing is to go with that oyster family around the world, and then it's not like just sailing, you're anchoring, and then you're going into the Caribbean to a nice island.
Around sailing.
Yeah, and then you have nice breakfast or dinner. It's so fantastic. Yeah. You only do that once in a lifetime. Actually, we have a few people who are doing it 2 or 3 times now, but we're also happy about that. We are.
Yeah. And you just mentioned the 2 new models. Let's touch on those. So what niche are they serving? What's gone into all the research and development to bring these to
I think innovation happens on various levels. And before we go to the boat, we touched on that level of innovation in a way, how can they better explore the world, and how can we make sure that the customer is happy also with traveling the boat. So that's where I mentioned we have the World Rally, but we are launching now the Explorers Club, because they are some of the customers, and that's innovation as well, because no one else is doing it. The innovation is that sometimes people do not have enough time to travel really 16 months. So even if they have the money, sometimes they don't have the time. So what we are offering now is we are offering smaller regattas, right? So you can go into the Arctic area, because our boats are able to go into the Arctic area.
Fantastic,
and then seeing the North Light, I mean, that's fantastic. But also we will do like a very challenging one around Cape Horn. That certainly is in itself something. And then we have a Pacific route. So we are adding more opportunities, but not overloading the customers. For those who really want to do something in between, we can offer them. So that for us is some sort of innovation, together with the academy where they can learn. So when we then touch on products, we have launched in May the 805, you might have seen, but we can also talk a little bit about it. And that's a perfect spot where people want to have a crew with them, but they don't want to go that big, because the biggest one is the 885. 805 is still a big boat, but you can really easily crew it with like 3 or 4 crew members, and then you have like a 3 cabin for your own. So the innovation is then creating new products. And unique, as you might see, are our windows, right? So when you sit in other boats, you sometimes need to really look up in order to see outside. With those, you don't. So we have
you're seated in it. It's just,
we have a very comfortable situation. So innovation lies in new products, and they are also certainly together with my team now, we are looking for even more products. But you can also imagine that we can't do like 3 products in a year, as those are expensive. But the other very important factor is we have more than 1,200 oysters out in the field. So they sometimes are looking for options. And one of the options is a bimini. Right, so the bimini, you know, right? But the bimini is what is protecting you when you are especially in the cockpit. So you can either do that with this kind of tent, but you can also have a fixed one. And the fixed one is what we are now initiated and bring to the market on the 595.
They look so nice.
Have you seen it? Oh, right. And then you have the solar panel on it. So from an environmental friendly point of view, we are also try to recover energy. So that bimini helps us. And what I'm driving at is that we are not doing that for new boats, but for retrofit. So whenever someone is coming saying, well, I was in the north of Europe, I really want to travel the world now, I want a bimini, then we are able to do that.
Right, to fit all these different environments, all these conditions they might face.
Definitely. So we can add more options and more possibilities to our current fleet. And that's what we're also doing with the 595. So imagine there's a tender, because normally the guys need to have a tender. So rather than pumping it up and then bringing it to the water, we actually this is a 565, but for the 595, we have now a garage where you have like a crane, and so you can bring it out. So the motor is hooked, the engine is hooked, and then we can actually put it down, and then you can go off.
It's just easy.
And these kind of things we can do in between, I would say. So every once in a while we will come with a new product, but I'm also pushing now the company to look at various options, and there are so many other possibilities.
Yeah. And so it's essentially to have this portfolio of different models that fit each niche. If you're kind of cruising for a week or two, that's a different need with a different amount of people to go into the polar regions. Or
well, it's true, but you would be surprised that even our smallest one, the 495s that you see here, they are also doing the World Rally. Yeah. It really depends a bit on how big you want to go. If you're just a couple, and you don't have children, it
doesn't need to be big.
It doesn't need to be big, because the smaller it is, the easier it is to handle, and you don't need a big crew. So if you're a good sailor, like he is, the customer, I met him yesterday, then you don't need it. But still, they can do the World Rally. If you're really enjoying having your whole family and grandkids in there, then you might want to go for bigger boats. But still, the main focus for everyone who is buying an Oyster is doing world travel. So they are normally not sitting in the harbor for long.
Yeah. Let's talk about growth.
Yes.
Next 3 years, 5 years, where does this growth come from? Where's the focus?
Well, I think there are also two levels. One level is there are more and more people who are having super yachts or power boats, where then you would say it's a little bit like the big SUVs, right? Where they start throwing eggs against the windows of the car. It's a little bit like that. Sailing in itself is a very environmental friendly voyage. So there are more and more people coming from the powerboat sector to say, I don't like to have these 2,000 horsepowers and then spending another 1,000 euros per day in order just to fill it up.
Yeah.
So that is one part where I do see growth is coming from. And then secondly is, you can't deny it, but there's more and more people getting wealthy, right? So it's everywhere in the world. It's not only in the UK, but in the US. And also that work-life balance part is getting more and more attractive. Having said that, and coming back to these unexperienced sailors, we need to combine that with that kind of customers coming. But there's more and more money to buy these kind of boats.
Yeah,
so that's
to escape, to do something unique, do something different.
Yes,
Look,
to do
I'm in the middle of nowhere with my sails up. I'm getting A to B just on the wind.
Because
and it
they went
good.
on these big boats with 4,000 people, but they feel like, wow, I can do with my own partner and family a world rally on my own. How great is that?
Yeah.
So, and there are even customers who are buying and then selling once they have done the world rally. So one is that, so that wealth and environmental part, but then the third level is certainly our innovation in the boats that will come over years, and that you do see as well. But I do see in the yacht business, as I'm working there for many years, unfortunately the quality is going down in some of the areas because everyone wants to get cheap, and by that unfortunately the quality is going up. We are not doing that at Oyster. We want to do assembly in the UK because we feel that is important. The customers who are coming there, they're exactly coming because of that. So the quality itself we need to raise, and then the innovation we are planning with these kind of models, and it would not be the last. So we are getting customer feedbacks. We call them all-stars, and I'm in that group. So experienced customers coming to me and telling me what they want to sail next. Right? So out of that, I'm talking with Richard.
You know exactly what you need to innovate.
And then I understand, all right, okay, this is a product we need to launch in the near future, and this is what we're going for.
All right, fantastic. Thank you much for coming on the podcast, Stefan.
You're welcome.
Lovely to meet you.
Lovely meeting you.
See you.
Nice, thank you. Thanks so much.
Everybody, make sure you're following here to see plenty more content like this. Outside of that, I'll see you very soon. Bye for now.
Bye. Do you want me to jump out of the boat now?
Yeah, well, into the dinghy.